Okay, guys, we're going to do a little review of a mental math strategy called tacking on the zeros. In French, this would be annexer les zéros. So this is one that I use in everyday life all the time. So if you have a number like 60 times 40, this is a multiplication equation. So this is a strategy, for the record, that you would only do once you already have your times tables memorized and you understand the concept of multiplication, meaning this is 60 groups of 40 or 40 groups of 60. So once you already have that concept in your head, you could use traditional multiplication, which I have written over here on the side. That's another lesson. That's where you line it up vertically and times 60 by 0 and then times 60 by 40. But we're going to do a really quick mental math strategy called tacking on the zeros. So basically, you just have to ignore the zeros when you are multiplying, and then you times the rest of the digits, and then tack on the zeros at the end. Now this only works if the zeros are at the end, the smallest position of your number, okay? It doesn't work if they're in the middle. I repeat, you cannot use tacking on the zeros if the zeros are in the middle of the number. So what we would do here is ignore the zeros at first. 6 times 4 is 24. Okay, and now we would add on the zeros. It's not really adding, I should say tacking on the zeros. Adding was the wrong word to use. So I'm just going to tack on these two zeros. There's 1 0 here, 1 0 here. I'm going to tack them on at the end. And that is my answer, 2,400. So you ignore the zeros, times your numbers, and then tack all the zeros on at the end. All right, let's move on to our next example. So here we would ignore the zeros. 3 times 2 is 6. Then how many zeros do we have to tack on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let me write this out properly. 1, 2, leave a space. 3, 4, 5. Because we always go in groups of 3 when we're writing large numbers. Okay? And back down to our last example. Ooh, okay, we can still do this. This is easy to do in our heads. Uh-oh, there's no 0 here. Is that okay? Yes, it is, because 15 is a number that's pretty easy to multiply in your head. If you need help, you might want to use a clock, because a clock has 60 seconds on it, and 60 is 15 times 4. So you have 15, 30, 45, and then 60. So we're going to go 15 times 2, which is 30. There's already a 0 there. Does it matter? No, it does not. How many zeros do we need to tack on in this question? We only have 1 0 here. So we're going to tack it on at the end. And that's what some people forget. They ended up with a 0 here because of their 30. 15 times 2 is 30. So they're like, oh, I already have a 0. I don't need to tack on another one. But you do. You always need to tack that on at the end. So that's our lesson on tacking on the zeros.